everybody, this is Sean Riley with Riley Real Estate and MassHomesale.com. I'm here with this week's Q&A Saturday video. So this week we're going to continue with a few things we've done recently on selling your damaged house. A little while back we did one on selling a house with a failed septic system and one on property conditions if you're going to be selling your house to an FHA buyer. So today we are going to answer the question of how do I sell my fire damaged house? So obviously having a fire can be a very big event, can be very traumatic, can be very dangerous. After dealing with your immediate safety and living conditions, the biggest question you usually have is what you're going to do with the house at that point. So again, first thing whenever you're dealing with a fire is safety. So during the fire, obviously get out, get everybody else out, and get to someplace safe. After the fire, you also need to be safe, so you don't want to go back until the fire is out. All the officials have done everything they need to do. The fire department has said, has put it out, has said that it's safe, has gotten any dangerous things out of the way, anything that has to do with the police department or the other town or government agencies that need to be in there for any reason, that they've done what they need to do and get out before you ever even want to go back. Next thing you want to be very careful with is documentation. So any documents or information you get from the fire department or the police department or any other officials, you want to make sure you keep that and have it well organized. You want to note down any conversations that you had with people, what was said and how it was said. And you also want to keep any receipts that you get for anything having to do with your shelter, food, other expenses that you have immediately afterwards, because those could potentially be things you could get reimbursed from your insurance settlement. Assuming you have insurance, obviously everybody. If you don't have fire insurance on your house, get it. If you have a mortgage, you already have it. You can't not have it. If you own it outright, you could choose not to have it. That's a really bad decision, so get some. And so going on to insurance, there are a couple different kinds of insurance. You have replacement costs and actual cash value. Replacement cost insurance, that is more expensive and more comprehensive. Not going to get into great detail with this stuff, but basically replacement cost is going to pay for you to rebuild the house. Different levels of stuff. Obviously, you could just have a small fire that doesn't have that much damage. You could have something that maybe, a kitchen fire that destroys the kitchen, but doesn't do much other damage to the house. You could have something that's, destroys the interior of the house, but structurally it's still sound. Or you could have something where you have to tear down the whole house. So depending on the levels there will depend on exactly what needs to be done. But essentially, any kind of work that needs to be done to the house, be it, replacing everything in one room, or having to tear the house down and build it back from scratch. Replacement cost insurance will cover that after your deductible, after they take into account depreciation and take into account any co-insurance you might be liable for if you didn't have enough coverage. Those are very complicated things to take into account, but that could mean quite a bit of money out of your pocket, even though they will replace everything past that. The next type is the actual cash value. This is more, you just get your lump sum payout and you can do whatever you want at that point. It's generally, the insurance is cheaper to have, but you don't get as big of a payout. And if your payout isn't enough to rebuild the house, then you either have to cover the difference or you have to do something else. And generally, when you have replacement costs, you have the option of taking the actual cash value payment if you don't want to actually fix stuff. Or you want to do it yourself or do it after the fact, whatever. So that's one option is to fix the house, and then that's what you do. Another option is if you don't want to deal with fixing it, or if you just want to move, if you don't want to have to pay the difference between what your insurance will do and what it'll cost to fix, you can take your actual cash value payment and then sell the house. Again, depending on the level. Obviously, if it was just a small fire that didn't do any major structural damage and the house is still livable, you could put it on the retail market. You have to discount it probably a pretty good amount for somebody to deal with that problem, even if it isn't something that needs to be done immediately. Obviously, if there's a bigger thing, like even like I said, just a kitchen fire and the kitchen's gone but nothing else, you have to replace the kitchen. I mean, we also recently did a video on as I said, on qualifying for FHA financing. But we also talked about any conventional loan, you're not going to be able to get a buyer financed if the kitchen isn't functional, for example. So there are a lot of things you'd need to sell or to fix just to sell to a retail buyer. Hey everybody, the batteries died while I was talking, so it might be a little disjointed here, but as I was saying, investors don't often care about dealing with the fire damage, so they will pay you a discounted price, but they will usually buy it with cash or with a private loan and will close reasonably fast and without much hassles or headaches for you, so you can take this additional payout and move on and buy your new home at that point. So you could get, so hopefully you have enough insurance that it will cover whatever mortgage you have and still give you a decent amount of cash afterwards, and then whatever you can sell the house and land for after that will just be an addition to. So this is often the quickest and easiest way to move on with your life. Obviously, if you if there's just a lot of interior damage and you want to keep your house going with, and you have replacement cost insurance, that's pretty much a key there. That's the best way to handle that. But if you are ready to move on and don't want to deal with all of that work and money out of pocket, because after your deductible, your depreciation, and any co-insurance, that could be quite a bit of money depending on what your coverage is. So now if you're fully covered and don't have to deal with co-insurance, and it's a relatively new house, so there's not a lot of depreciation, etc., might not be a lot of money, but it could be tens of thousands of dollars depending on how all these things shake out. And everything is very specific to your own situation, so you really aren't going to know how that's going to shake out until you put in your insurance claim. But like I said, so there could be a lot of money out of pocket, but not necessarily. It'll definitely be, no matter what you're going to do, it's going to be a hassle if you deal with any of these other things. Not that getting your actual cash value and then selling the property won't be completely hassle-free, but it will be much, much easier and much less stuff to deal with and much quicker than trying to rebuild. So, if you do have a fire-damaged house and you're interested in selling, get in touch with us. Click on our consultation button and fill out a form, or you can get in touch with us one of those other ways that we always talk about: Facebook, Twitter, email, whatever. So anyway, that's just a little overview of how to deal with a fire-damaged house. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry about the batteries cutting out on us. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments below. If you have any questions you'd like to see answered in one of these videos, you can always post it on our Facebook page, our Twitter account, send an email to info@mattshomesale.com, or just leave something in the comments below. Until next week, I hope you guys are doing well, and we'll see you in next week's video. All right? Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.